is that a good motivator or is it not a good motivator? And sometimes that can be the reason why you maybe fall off track, is because maybe the motivation and the reason for starting wasn't an overly healthy motivator.
Hello, and here we go. Back for another episode of Coffee Talks. You already know by now we talk all things health and wellness, training, nutrition, performance and lifestyle are our big topics. And today is no different.
Yep.
We are diving into motivation and discipline. And kind of, not that we're following a series or anything, but I guess this is kind of building on from previous episodes. So if you haven't watched or listened to our previous episodes, thoroughly recommend going and doing that. If you're doing it on YouTube, make sure you like the videos and subscribe to the channel as well. And on Instagram, pass on the videos, share them, and let other people know what's going on over here. So first of all, I know we post these every week, and you don't really get an insight into, I guess, what we do week to week, but we went home this week. We've been at home for the last 10 days. We've just come back to Lewis, and Cara was away playing with Northern Ireland, so fill us in, how'd that go?
So in terms of results, 1 defeat to the Republic of Ireland and then a win against Albania at home. First time playing under new manager, so it was interesting to get an insight into how she operates, and I think all of us felt like we took a massive step forward even just in the last 10 days, and we're really excited for what is to come. Just the level of like expectation and professionalism, and just the level that she wants us to operate. I think everybody knows that they've got to take a step up or we're going to get left behind, because the game is moving on very quickly. And one of the big takeaways was one of the things that she said in her very first meeting. Says what got you there, no, what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
So everything that we've done to get us to this point, that's great, but if you try and repeat that and do those same things again, you're not going to have the same outcome, because the game's moved on.
Let's
so,
go.
Yeah.
Get her on an episode of Coffee Talks. Class. No, sounds amazing. So I obviously went and watched a lot of football. I also went and watched Northern Ireland under 19s. Met someone at that game who is watching Coffee Talks every week, so we love that. So yeah, here we go. I suppose to kind of recap as well a little bit on last week's episode, we were chatting about goals, setting goals, why they're beneficial, what they kind of help us do, achieving different things, and we got some really good feedback, I think, on the back of that episode, which has been great. So yeah, with all of these, again, if you're getting something from it, share it with us, because it's massive motivation for us to kind of keep doing these, and yeah, it just keeps us excited about seeing some of you like achieving what you set out to do as well. So
yeah, and if it sparks ideas of things that you do want to hear us talk about, we also have received messages from people off the back of other episodes to say that, I heard you talking about this a little bit, could you expand a bit more on that, or we want to hear you talk about that. So we are taking all of that feedback, even if we don't get back to you directly, it's something that we're considering and we'll definitely talk about moving forward. Yeah,
and I think we are gonna very soon take a bit more of a deep dive into training and nutrition, because I know a lot of people, especially nutrition, like that's the one that people seem to ask most questions about and have kind of, I guess, just most concerns or questions in general about. So we're getting there, we're going to come to it. But today we want to chat about those two things, motivation and discipline, and kind of how they affect your day-to-day life, your training, all of this, and what they're all about.
Yeah. So definition, first of all.
Here she goes.
That's how we start them all off. Motivation is the desire to take action, and discipline is the ability to stay committed and consistent. I don't know where'd you get those definitions from?
What do you mean? Where did I get them from? Like Google, obviously. So I was trying to, literally, as I was kind of thinking about this episode, I was thinking like, how can we separate the two?
Yeah.
Because they are somewhat intertwined. But that is what Google told me. So it's the desire to take action is motivation, and discipline is the ability to stay committed and consistent. So generally, when you kind of start on any journey, any path, especially if you set a goal and you're really excited about getting there, motivation is the thing that will be that kind of force. It'll be the catalyst.
It's your reason why, I guess.
Yeah.
For wanting to make change or start something or do something. So I think for me, the very first point is to look at your motivation, and is that a good motivator or is it not a good motivator?
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be the reason why you maybe fall off track, is because maybe the motivation and the reason for starting wasn't an overly healthy motivator.
And so an example of that is, I suppose, like an external motivation. So let's say when it comes to training, you're following someone on Instagram who's a bit of an influencer and whatever else, and you think, that's what I want. Terrible motivation. Yeah. But a better motivation is, well, actually, I want to become a healthier version of myself. I want to improve in this area or this aspect. Better motivation.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I think it's interesting when you start on, like, let's say a training program, for example. So maybe you haven't been following a program and you've kind of just been going through the motions, and then you start on something. Motivation will probably stay high in the early stages because you'll see results a lot faster. Whereas if you've been on, the same program and the same plan for a longer period of time, you're not likely to see results as often. So then motivation also will dip a little bit. So that's, I guess, then when discipline and good habits, take their effect.
Yeah, so I mean, we're coming back again, you can sort of see how all of these things that we're touching on in the first 4 or 5 episodes all kind of intertwine. Like we talked about, what's your mainstay, like what are your pillars in life that you're kind of anchored to or rooted to. Then habits formed off of those, and then we're kind of coming like full circle back to them habits. So like the discipline is the habits aspect, and then motivation kind of links really to goals. So every time you hit a milestone or a goal, then that kind of spikes the motivation, and then as that drops, you're then starting to fall back on those habits that then just kind of keep you level and keep you consistent until you get that next spike in kind of motivation whenever you're like, bang, tick another goal.
Yeah, that's class. And I suppose also when you're hitting those goals, when you're kind of reaching those milestones, it's very easy to kind of ride that wave of feeling good, and it is an emotional thing as well. But the reality is you'll not always feel good. You'll not always be on the kind of the crest of the wave, and emotions are high and that sort of thing. So massive to, I guess, when you are in those kind of early stages to build those habits. The example we were chatting about earlier is like, if you're following a training plan, and again, you've started something new, everybody knows we should do more mobility, we should do more stretching, why not, when you're in that kind of like high, start something like that? Because when things dip off, it's just a habit, it's just something you do, so it's easy to kind of keep going, or easier. I'm gonna put you on the spot again because I like to do it.
Okay.
Let's go football specific,
Mm-hmm.
because this should probably be easy. Have you had times where, you know, motivation has dropped off, or you're just not really feeling, you know, like the best player, the best version of you on the pitch? And you know, how does discipline kind of play a role in that? You know, whether it's, I don't know, some sort of setback or whatever.
I think the thing for me is to not always expect to be motivated and not to beat yourself up whenever you're not. I think I, for a while, always thought that I should be motivated, and if I wasn't, then there was something wrong.
Yeah, there's a flaw.
That there's a flaw, yeah, within me, like mentally, that there's something that I've lost that means that I'm not motivated to get up and go every single day. But I think just maybe switching that mentality a little bit to realise that there's nobody who's like so motivated every single day, and that's all right, but you know that you'll get there, and by taking the step, taking the action. And I know this is something that you're really big on, is action leading to desire.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. Yeah, and so you'll, as you say, you'll not always feel like it, but actually just taking that step, you know, 9 times out of 10, that'll at some point make you feel like you want to do it again.
Yeah, I think there's somebody who says, I can't remember what it is, but it's just like, just show up every day.
Yeah.
Just show up.
100%. And I know even for myself, like, you know, I've been coaching for over 10 years in, you know, various aspects and roles, and even when it comes to my own training, you know, a lot of the time, like, I don't feel like doing it, but it's like when you're in the middle of the session, then you realize, no, this is why I'm doing this. You know, you get all the benefits of the training, and even at the end of a session, you know, you're gonna feel amazing for it. And yeah, I don't think you generally regret doing things for yourself.
Yeah. And I think also whenever you do again dip off in that, the motivation drops off a little bit. I think just assessing again like why you're doing it, and making sure that the reason you're doing it is for healthy reasons, and there's healthy motivation behind it. Because, you know, if you're doing it for other people and you're not doing it for yourself, or you're doing it for like praise or attention or whatever, then I think you're going to find it really hard to be motivated, and it has to come from within.
Yeah, something deeper. Yeah. So both things are great, motivation and discipline. You know, while motivation is there, you know, take as much from it as you can, but equally discipline is the thing that will keep you on task. So 3 things to build discipline. Those 3 are: set realistic goals, surround yourself with people that are going to keep you accountable, and the 3rd thing, investing in a coach. So let's just quickly touch on the 3 of those, and then we'll see where we go. So the first one, realistic goals. You're not gonna always land on the mountaintop, you know, but there's no reason why you can't get there eventually. So I guess don't set yourself massive goals that, you know, scare you or you're just not going to achieve.
Well, I wouldn't say don't set those. I would say, yeah, set them, but also have like milestones along
actionable,
the way.
Yeah, actionable steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. Having people around you that keep you accountable and on target, what's the benefit of that?
Having people.
Yeah.
I think like obviously it's just going to keep you on track day to day, to keep checking in with you, to make sure that you're still doing the things that you said that you were going to do. And sometimes whenever I see other people like going after their goals and they hit their sort of markers or milestones, then that can drive you on as well. It's not always healthy to be fully motivated by other people. Okay, I'm just going to do that because they did that. But I think it certainly like sets a fire in you whenever you see other people achieving big things. And I know for me, I'm like, well, if they can do it, then why can't I?
I love that. And the third thing that I mentioned was just investing in a coach. If you are someone who kind of struggles with staying on track or following a plan, or just I guess figuring out what your goals actually look and feel like, having a coach to just guide you in all of that is you can't put a price on that. You're going to someone who has experience, who has knowledge and wisdom, and we've both benefited from having good coaching in our lives, whether that be within sport and training or even just in life. It's good to have those people.
And I know for me, they've always been the people that if I'm being too small-minded and not setting big enough and scary enough goals, then they're the ones to be like, no, actually we're going to stretch you, and they see bigger potential in you probably than what you see in yourself, I think. Or maybe just you're maybe a little bit afraid to admit that you think that you could stretch towards that goal, but they're the people that are like, no, I think you could achieve X, Y, Z if you don't want to say it about yourself.
And on the flip of that, if you're getting too carried away, maybe that'll also be the one to rein you in too. So those are three really good ways to kind of just help build discipline in your life, in your lifestyle, in your training, all that sort of thing. So to kind of wrap things up, we like to do what we call one for the road. Do you want to tell people what one for the road is? And then I will.
One for the road is a takeaway. So it's everything is coffee themed that we do here. We there was a coffee shop that we went to, and on the cups they stamped one for the road, which was a takeaway cup. So every time we go for a takeaway coffee, you always go, so is it one for the road?
One for the road. So with all of these episodes, we want you to take away something that you can kind of think about and implement in your own lifestyle, your own health and wellness journey. So Karen mentioned it a little while ago, going back to that why, so why have I set the goal that I have, or why am I on the journey that I am? And we'll keep coming back to this because it's so important. That's the thing that will bring motivation, but it'll also keep you on track because of the habits that you build, because of the discipline. So if you are you are serious about following a plan or kind of doing all that stuff, figure out why. Don't just go through the motions, because that's when we will lose motivation, have that kind of drop in desire. But when we know why we do what we do, that's what will keep us on track. So that's us. We hope you enjoyed that again. See you next time.